No Way Through is a movie produced by Chinaza Onuzo's Inkblot Studios and Funke Akindele's Film One Studios. It was directed by Chinaza Onuzo and written by Chinaza Onuzo and Stephen Okonkwo. It runs for about 1 hour 45 minutes and it was shot in Lagos, Nigeria. No Way Through is a movie that tells the story of Jolade, whose late husband led her through a drug dealing path in the drug cartel, making her only means of survival for she and her daughter connected to drug cartel. The local drug cartel was run by Apostle and Lutana, with Jolade as the mover of the drugs. But Jolade was using her restaurant as a disguise for her source of money, right? Just like normally they clean up money. So in this case, in this particular movie, Jolade was using her restaurant, right? Now, having been exposed to the NDEA, Jolade had no choice than to find a way through for the safety and freedom of she and her daughter, which is why the title No Way Through comes to be. Regarding actors' performance in this movie, I think Chinaza Onuzo had some difficulty with the directing in this particular movie, in some scenes actually. The only plausible performance I see in this movie is the character of Jolade. Jolade was acted by Funke Akindele, and Lutana was acted by Bob and Ejide. So these are the only characters I see that had plausible performance. Apart from this, most performance of characters were weak and had some weak dialogues that didn't just represent the energy of the movie, right? Which was talking about drugs and drug trafficking. It didn't represent the energy. For instance, the performance of Apostle and his wife mostly looks to me like a stage drama actually. There's something about the lack of chemistry and connection that was playing out between Apostle and his wife that didn't look right to me actually. Watching the movie gives me an impression that the couple are not happy or they might be tired of something. I don't just know, but the performance there wasn't just okay for me. I mean, it wasn't just believable, it looks awkward. If I hadn't seen Chidi Mokeme as Car in Shantytown, I would have said that the lack of energy to the character was caused by Chidi Mokeme, or was brought in by Chidi Mokeme, right? But obviously, his character of Apostle was poorly performed, but based on Chidi Mokeme's past experience, past performance, I can only attribute this weak performance to the director and the writer, which is Chinaza Onuzo. The same thing with Chioma Chukwuka in the character of Rachel, right? Looking at the couple in this particular movie, just like I said earlier, I mean, it looks like they were not well paid, or they were just paid in advance and they actually try to do their best to just collect back their balance. Don't mind me, but that's what I think about this movie performance with regards to with regards to the couple, right? That's Apostle and Rachel. That's what I think. It's a kind of weak, and it doesn't have that believability. It doesn't have that drive or that energy, right? Even though I saw a bit of that energy, I mean, where they brought in JJ and what after preaching, how he went and attacked JJ, how he went and dealt with JJ, I saw a bit of energy, but after that there was no energy. It was just cold and calm. I was tempted to see that it's the character's way of design. That's how the producers design the characters, but I don't think so. I'll talk about that later actually. Ikechukwu in the character of Christian could have been better actually. The character had this mean, aggressive appearance and impression that is too rugged for the NDEA agent. I mean, it was too rugged, right? Coupled with unnecessary insult in this particular movie, just insulting anyhow, and his poor wardrobe, the kind of clothes he put on. I mean, who does that? What kind of NDEA agent is that? It looks obviously awkward for Ikechukwu standing in as the NDEA agent, right? I mean, for me, it doesn't just look believable. The worst case is even Sheon Ajayi's character of Jude Nwafo. I mean, that character was just awkward, right? The character had lots of pride that didn't just appear well to me. This is something you get when you don't research well into the agency you're trying to portray, right? They were trying to portray the NDLEA, that's a Nigerian Drugs Law Enforcement Agency. And I mean, it wasn't just, it was far away from what the agency stands for. It was far, which I'm going to talk about that later a bit, but it was actually far away. Their wardrobe, their costume, everything was just far away from the NDLEA, and I think it's something they should have looked at, right? And Jude in this movie appeared prideful, but with poor delivery, it was just awkward. He laughs when not necessary and delivers weak dialogues. I mean, who does that? Like the second scene of the movie where Jolade's undercover friend exposed her. I mean, that scene, you could see it's as if they had a prior character development, as if they had a part one that we didn't see. You could see the guy walking in as if he owns the place or something, right? As if he is the god, or the pride didn't just juxtapose with the kind of character he was playing. And I don't know why it was. I mean, I don't know why they made it like that, but to me, it doesn't just sit well. Also, Lutana, acted by Pop Odonwodo, was a good and convincing performance right there. He had this energy on, right? I mean, it was the energy I see, and I felt like, yeah, we are now going close to what a drug movie should look like, right? Otherwise, we are just seeing poor, weak performance from all other actors, right? And not the slicing of the JJ's bowler there was Pop's idea, actually. I don't know who would have given them the idea, but I know that that guy is always crazy like that. And maybe they would have given him an idea, just shoot him to the head, and he said, no, let me just slice the guy's bowler out of his body. Yeah, the guy is actually crazy. I mean, he's good. I've seen several of his films, and this guy is very good. And when you see him in action roles like this, he delivers. So he's a crazy guy. I mean, a crazy actor that delivers his role. And I think that his performance in this particular movie is one of the best, right? Just like I mentioned earlier, Jolade and her daughter Ejide, and this particular character, Lotana. These are the three characters for me that are believable in this particular movie. Also, SODK in the character of Bolasco was just laughing like a madman. I mean, you could see him in that character where Christian first broke into Apostle's house, right? You could see him clearly laughing, and the kind of laughter he was portraying there, keeps quiet and he laughs again. He behaves like a simple tune. He behaves like a crazy man. I mean, it wasn't just believable. And for the kind of person that hates Apostle gangs, I mean, it doesn't just look nice that he was acting like that. And I don't know why they put it like that. Maybe they were trying to portray that he has some scores in his head. I don't know. But it doesn't just make sense that that kind of a character behaves like that. So I attribute it to a poor performance, and I don't know whether Chinaza Onuzo took a look at this before allowing that to be on screen. I mean, it doesn't just look well, right? Away from performance, let's look at the cinematography in this particular movie, No Way Through. Now, No Way Through had this good cinematic appearance, even though they were not excellent, they were not that perfect, but it has this good cinematic appearance, right? It had good shots and good camera angles and some tracking shots and some other shots, right? It was good. And you know, in movies, the director is in charge of showing us the way and what we see, right? Where the camera goes and how it goes. It is told to us by the director through the cinematographer or the DOP, as the case might be. The cinematographer is the DOP and the cameraman joined together, while the DOP is just a single person that tells the cameraman what to do, right? I don't know, just giving her that. So, with regards to this particular movie, there were just good shots, good angles, and some believable point of view shots, right? Like the breaking into Apostle's house scene that had that good point of view shot. But some scenes required the director to show us what was happening. I mean, actually, there's this particular scene that requires the director to show us what was happening. Now, this scene is when Apostle was pointing a gun at Jolade, I think towards the end there. We needed to see some over-shoulder shot view of the Apostle telling his members not to worry, not to run, God is in control, yeah, all of those blah, 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 blah shit, right? We needed to see something like an over-shoulder shot that establishes him saying that. Over-shoulder shot would have been good to see the impression on his face, the kind of expression on his face, right? We would have loved to see that. Now, lighting was good, but could have been better actually. The wardrobe mostly was just not good. It was just a flop there. I mean, how can an NDEA agent appear like Ikechuka appeared in this particular movie? It was just crazy, right? One tiny trouser and one shirt. It's just mad. I mean, just take a look at Jude again. Jude Mwavo in that character dressing as an NDA agent with singlets and some short trousers at some point. Well, how does that make sense? I mean, it doesn't just make sense. Just like I said, am I sure that these guys didn't use their personal clothing for this particular shooting? I don't know, because based on how these guys dress, apart from Ikechuku, that clothes I know that they borrowed from someone to give it to you. I know surely, because you can never dress like that. I know. Even though they borrowed from another person, I don't think they really research well with regards to NDEA, right? Which I said earlier, Nigerian Drugs Law Enforcement Agency. It's an agency they were trying to copy, the agency they were trying to portray, but they didn't portray it well, and I think it's a slap at their face for this kind of appearance, right? If they added L, it's clearly Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, but without the L, they now said it's a different agency, but all still showed pointed hand back to the NDEA, because they're the Drugs Law Enforcement Agency in Nigeria, right? So why do you depict them in that way? Is that the kind of tiny trousers and short clothes they wear? And for the producers, please, that is not the depiction. I feel that you should apologize to the NDLEA for the kind of depiction you did on them with this kind of poor performance and poor wardrobe. Please go apologize. I didn't say that, but you know what I'm talking about. Just crazy, right? It's just not well organized. The movie is not just well organized with regards to wardrobe. From start to finish, I mean, Jude had no uniform. He was using some tiny trousers and a singlet, which he claimed to wear always as his uniform. And I said, was that a uniform? Sometimes he just put on a singlet, and it doesn't really make sense, right? It doesn't really represent the NDLEA. And that wasn't good for me. It wasn't convincing at all. Also, sound design was just another thing. Sound design. It was one awful thing I had. I mean, at some point, don't get me wrong, some points are good, some are not good. Just like normal, some of the Nollywood, normal olden Asaba movies, right? All other places are good and other places aren't good, actually. The movie was just slamming us with different music, including the one music I dislike the most. Tell them, make them, give me chance. Chance for what? Sorry, I don't know how to sing. My voice, you could hear it. I don't know how to sing. I also start learning how to sing. Don't worry. And I'll give you much entertainment in this particular channel. I know that. We're gonna get to that. But for now, just know that we're doing movie reviews. And here, these guys put a lot of music that I don't just like. I just dislike. I understand that within that period of the release, maybe this song was really booming, right? And the post-production period, this song was really booming. And actually, I don't just like that song. Tell them, make them, give me chance. Chance for what now? It's just crazy. No, that's not the point. What I dislike is not about the review, right? I might dislike it, other people might like it, so it's fine. It's perfect, right? It's good. But another thing is the kind of voice, the character's voice fluctuating in this particular movie, right? Some dialogue sounds as if they omitted them and they later recorded them in the studio. You could hear it disconnect from the normal flow, right? So in as much as we need continuity of the visual view, we need the continuity. We also need the continuity of the sounds. We also need to understand and hear that the sound in a particular scene, in a particular setting, flows the same, so that they give us that believability and we feel that, yes, we are into it and this particular sound is still coming from the same person. But by the time you switch and the first sound sounds good, and the second voice comes as if they're speaking through a pipe, it doesn't just make sense, right? For me, it doesn't stand up. It doesn't just make sense. Anyways, let's move on. So my observation in this movie is that, first of all, it had poor wardrobe. I cannot ever emphasize in this movie about poor wardrobe, right? I cannot overemphasize. The NDEA agents were not well represented. Their clothing was not well represented. They looked like criminals in disguise. Yeah, we understand that at some point this guy was going off board, right? That's Christian was going off board, but that was not the recipe for you to give these guys an awful dressing. It wasn't the recipe. Also, the location selected for this production is just the baddest. Just take a look at the NDA office having virtual reality signboard on the wall. It doesn't just make sense, right? The setting is just not well arranged, and to look at the office like that, it doesn't just make sense, and it looked like a film that was actually rushed. This particular movie looks like a film that was actually rushed. To me, it's not just make sense. It doesn't just make sense, right? Anyways, it is what it is. Okay, let me talk like Sister Kehinde Bankole in the movie Sister. It is what it is. So I attribute the performance errors to the director Chinaza Onuzo in this particular film. Because we had great actors, right, in this particular movie, but when you have the producers of a movie go wrong in the other aspect of production and even the screenplay and the productions itself, such things are prone to happen, right? Like, how comes the NDA agents comes not for arrest but for war? It doesn't make sense, right? The NDA agents are supposed to come and arrest. That's with the policemen. They're supposed to come and arrest, but they came in for war and started shooting anyhow. The story is not clear in this perspective. So if Christian had an agenda, why did the other police officers behave the same way? This is such a negative representation of the NDLEA, because that is not how they operate. And I think that, just like I said earlier, Chinaza Onuzo and your production crew, you need to apologize to the NDLEA. It was just a flop performance representation of the NDLEA, and it doesn't just make sense. In all aspects, it doesn't represent what the NDLEA stands for. Yes, I'm not being serious. Let me bold. Yeah, that's true, because how on earth would you put a policeman going out to arrest and all of a sudden they open fire on the people they went to arrest without any information or without any announcement or without any warning? That doesn't make sense. And I think that the writer of this particular movie should have taken that into consideration, right? It was mad. Let me not get emotional about this, because this movie really got me worked up when I was watching it. I was like, what kind of madness is that? It doesn't make sense. It was crazy. I was mad at it, right? And my favorite actor again, Chidi Mokeme, putting him in that particular performance character. It's not as if he can't do better. He can do better, but because sometimes the directors go wrong in some aspect, just like I said earlier, when the production crew goes wrong with the whole thing, production design and even production value, actors tend to appear as if they don't know what they're doing. Actors tend to appear as if they don't know how to act. But that is because the directors ignore them, and maybe there are some issues of pride and all of that that's not balanced in the movie during the production. It brings about all of this, right? I don't know why I'm hampering on this, but I just feel bad about this movie, actually. I'm not just okay. In fact, I've not reviewed a movie that got me so worked up like this particular movie, because it's just crazy, right? Having good actors, having great actors in a scene, in a movie, and all of a sudden you have a kind of poor storyline and poor dialogues with poor performance and unrealistic display. Okay, I'm not trying to attack anybody. I'm just trying to talk. It's just crazy, right? It's just mad. I don't know how to express this again, but I think that I will get over it, because the truth is, I had high esteems for Inkblot and Filmone Studios, right? Inkblot for Chinaza Onuzo and Filmone for Funke Akindele, right? I had high esteem for them. But how comes it happens that they turned me down? It is what it is, like I said earlier. So the idea behind drug trafficking in this movie was just flopped to the floor, actually. It was just dropped to the floor. It wasn't believable. There's no one scene establishing how Jolade was moving the drugs, no scene establishing normal drug sales, only a flash display of the ladies in Malaysia who do drugs packaging, right? And how are we supposed to now believe that there is a drug dealing, drug sales and drug movement happening in this particular movie without you showing us what we need to see? Or are we just supposed to believe you because Jolade narrated it? They gave us that particular setting, but without a clear description of how these people operate. So for me, it's not believable. Why is everything about this movie not believable? I don't know, but check it out and let me know what you think. I've seen a lot of people talking about the positivity of the film, but believe me, I can't talk about the positivity of the film because I don't see anything positive. I mean, I don't see anything that depicted reality. I don't see anything that depicted something believable. All I see is they were trying to just shoot the movie. Maybe the Chinaza Onuzo had this lost script somewhere, and when he picked it up, he had nothing to shoot. I mean, nothing to produce, and he felt like, guys, let's just do something out and shoot it out towards the December period, and let's get it over with. Yeah, that's what I think, but I don't know. That's my thinking. Let me not deal much on this, guys. Lastly, the fight scene at the end there with Jolade and Rachel. I mean, are you playing? What kind of a playing is this? Actually, it wasn't just believable. It was just not a good performance right there, right? They should have allowed Christian to fight Bolasco or Apostle to fight Christian, right? Instead of Jolade and Rachel fighting that awkward fight. It wasn't just believable at all. In conclusion, the movie No Way Through was a bit of rush and poor in performance. In the short, it had poor production quality. It tried to tell us a story without showing us the pictures, right? We had good actors who had weak dialogues, delivered weak performances, right? I could have said it's the design of the characters, but it's obvious that it's the result of the production value that was very, very poor. Guys, thank you very much for being with me to this end, and as always, if you've not subscribed to my movie review channel, please consider doing that below. And if you like what I'm doing, please consider clicking the like button. This will help me to do more. And as always, see you in my next movie review. Salute.